If you keep escaping your own life, you do not have a discipline problem. You have a design problem. You don't need more discipline. You don't need to white knuckle. You don't need the perfect routine. What you need is anchor points and off ramps. You need them deliberately added to your schedule because if you don't, your brain will take them and it won't take what's healthiest, it'll take what's fastest and most efficient. Before I keep going, I want to define three words so you know exactly what I mean. What does escape mean? Escape is anything that you do to get out of your current reality or to not feel the feelings that you're currently feeling. Anchor points. An anchor point is a scheduled block that stabilizes your direction and identity. It keeps you oriented, it keeps you moving forward. This could be workouts, creative sessions, anything that kind of solidifies your identity. Off ramps. An off ramp is a planned pressure relief valve. It's intentional relief. That way you don't steal anything from tomorrow. This can be planned relaxation. This can be pretty much anything that gives you permission to turn your brain off. So let's start with anchor points. Anchor points are not just something that you force yourself to do. They are designed blocks where you do work and you see the payoff of the work in the future. If the payoff is unclear, your brain will see the work as meaningless and that'll make you miserable. And I'll give you an example of that in a second. An anchor point is something that you repeat, whether that's daily, weekly, or monthly. It's something that you repeat that gets you closer towards a goal you genuinely care about, even on your worst days. You're trading short term relief for long term leverage. And so there's a trade off there. And so it's crucial to understand what you're actually paying for. For example, for me, I dropped out of college. Now, this is just my experience. I'm not saying anything about college. But for me, when I was in school, the payoff felt abstract. I couldn't really see myself using the degree that I was going to school for. And so the work ended up feeling meaningless to me. The work felt unnecessarily hard. Not that I couldn't do it or anything like that, but simply I wasn't willing to give the effort that it would take to complete the work. This led to me being genuinely miserable. I had always been, a high achiever. And so when I wouldn't go to class or I wouldn't want to do the work, I would use that as fuel against myself and kind of attack myself for not keeping up with what I thought I should be doing. And that created more resentment. And then the cycle just continued and continued until eventually one day I decided to drop out of college. From the outside, I'll be the first to say it. I looked like a bum. I really did. And it's not because I was lazy. I never have been lazy. I was just unanchored. Let me give some contrast to kind of clear this up a bit. I've been working a sales job for about a year now, and I've had the exact opposite experience in this job that I did in college. And the reason is because the payoff is clear and immediate. So my job is that I'm an appointment setter for B2B services. I cold call, I make 120 to 140 calls a day, and I set 2 to 5 sales appointments. That's it. That's the whole job. I make calls, calls lead to appointments, appointments lead to money, skills, and confidence. This work is just as, if not harder, than the work I was doing in college. But the point is, I understand the payoff of this job. Not only am I making money, but I'm also sharpening skills that I can use for the rest of my life. And so essentially, I'm getting paid to learn. My mind hears that, getting paid to learn, and it says, that makes sense to me. Why would I want to stop? And this is the whole idea. Even on a bad day, when I'm tired or just straight up don't feel like it, the logic in my mind is so powerful that it allows me to perform even when I'm not in a good mood, even when I don't feel like calling. I can still execute. I can execute because I see the payoff. And this is how you compound. You do the same thing over and over and over again, day after day. I've seen a lot of success doing this. To put it simply, an anchor point is a repeatable block where the payoff is clear and the logic is so strong that you can execute even on days when you don't feel like it. But here's the catch: even with great anchor points, you still can't be on go mode all the time. You need recovery. And this is where off ramps come in. Off ramps. You are going to regulate your nervous system in one way or another. Now, there's two ways to do it: there's clean pleasure, and then there's dirty pleasure. Clean pleasure is something that you do and you feel better, and then you feel good about yourself after. Dirty pleasure is something that you do, you feel good about it in the moment, but then you pay for it after. Whether that's with confidence, self trust, whatever it is, you pay for your comfort. And dirty pleasures aren't bad because they don't feel good. They feel great. The problem is they are expensive. And oftentimes a dirty pleasure will keep you further away from your goals, whereas a clean pleasure can actually push you closer towards your goals. Now, if you're anything like me, you can come up with a plan that will work. Most of goal achievement is a math equation. If I do X, I will get Y. 1 plus 1 equals 2 every single time. But the key to really achieving your goals is staying consistent. Consistent work builds up pressure. And this is exactly why you need off ramps. What we are after is clean pleasure, a planned, scheduled pressure relief valve. Now, I'm going to give two examples of off ramps: a short term example and a longer term example. A daily off ramp that I have is that I play billiards with my dad and then I watch one show before I go to bed. Every night at around 8:30, I go down in my basement and I play some billiards with my dad. And then after that, I watch one episode of The Office before I go to bed. This 8:30 billiards sort of acts as a hard stop for planning and productivity. I am not allowed to change my schedule or plan something or do any work after 8:30. The only thing I do allow is idea capture. So if I have an idea that I like and I don't want to lose it, I can take a note of it, but I can't actually do anything with it after 8:30. Essentially, I'm giving myself permission to turn my brain off and relax a little bit. If I don't do this, my brain will keep churning and keep churning, and it'll turn my relaxation into guilt, because my mind is always trying to optimize. And so when I don't have planned relaxation and I start to relax, my brain kind of attacks myself a little bit and it says, well, you could be doing this or you could be doing that. It kind of turns into this weird guilt that I'm not moving forward. Here's why off ramps matter: the goal isn't intensity for one day, the goal is consistency over months. Grinding 24/7 usually feels productive, but oftentimes it leads to burnout and it eventually breaks down the line. And that's why deliberate off ramps are necessary. They protect consistency. This pressure relief valve protects tomorrow's reps. Because when you're tired and you're worn out, your daily reps cost more. But when you're well rested and you have energy, everything just feels a lot easier. And so that's the whole point of an off ramp. So that's my daily off ramp built into the end of my day. But let me give you a longer term example because the same principle shows up with my money too. I plan one upgrade purchase every single month, a long term buy that makes my life better, and I plan it on purpose. Every month after I get paid, I give myself a $200 to $500 budget to buy something that's going to upgrade my life. For example, I bought a mouse, I bought a monitor, I bought a USB dock and SSD. These are all examples of things that I purchase once and I'm going to use them for a really long time and they're going to be worth it in the long run. They allow my life to be more consistent. Now, how is this an off ramp? I get pleasure out of buying these things only because I can see the long term value of purchasing them. It also makes my work more enjoyable every month because I have something to look forward to. Like, for example, next month I'm going to buy a light. And so I'm really looking forward to upgrading my setup because I know that I'm going to use it for a really long time and it's going to make my life easier. It also relieves a little bit of pressure to purchase because I make pretty good money, but I've also always been very frugal. And so I have these two sides of me that I don't really like to spend money, but I've also never really had this much money before. And so I have these kind of competing internal dialogues. Planning these purchases kind of feeds both sides of my personality. That way I can spend a little bit of money without feeling any guilt at all about it, but also it's a small enough percentage of my income that it doesn't really matter and I can still be very, very frugal, which I love. I don't really make purchases that I regret, and only because I have planned off ramps. Between my daily off ramps and my monthly off ramps, essentially I'm planning relief, and that's the whole point of this video. So if you're constantly trying to escape your life, more than likely you don't have a discipline problem, you probably have a design problem. If you don't schedule your anchor points and your off ramps, life will schedule them for you. One day you'll look up and you'll say, well, how did I even get here? Where am I? How did I even get into this position? And the reason is simple, it's because you didn't plan your anchor points and you didn't plan your off ramps. Anchor points choose the direction of life you're heading, and your off ramps protect the consistency so that you can keep choosing the direction that you want to go. So, if you want a deliberate life that you choose, here's what I would do. I'd pick two anchor points that you repeat every single day and one off ramp that you repeat every single day. Put them on your calendar and protect them with your life. They can be small, but they must be repeatable. Design a day that you can actually live in, and consistency becomes automatic. That's all. I will see you when I see you.